Since 2007, Assassin's Creed has been an acclaimed franchise loved by all and a staple bread and butter series for Ubisoft. However, the recent announcements regarding the future of this game have surprised everyone. Namaskar friends, welcome to Illegal Desi. Let's get into it. Assassin's Creed has been the type of game that people universally loved when the first game came out back in 2007. It has some of the most beloved games in the franchise, such as the Ezio trilogy and Black Flag. The primary focus of the game has always been a single player experience with a rich story and near accurate history, and although it has had its controversial moments like the Unity glitches, it's a staple series whose fanbase has only grown, with Valhalla outselling all previous games during the launch period. The success for the latest entry was so big that Ubisoft redirected a few of its studio to make a third story expansion which will be out later next year. This is why the latest announcement is all the more confusing. On 7th July, the noted reporter Jason Schreier published this article stating that Assassin's Creed announces a live service game to emulate the success of GTA 5 and Fortnite. The article further goes on to say a new project, which is known inside Ubisoft Entertainment by the codename Assassin's Creed Infinity, sets out to create a massive online platform that evolves over time according to people familiar with its development. Whereas previous Assassin's Creed games each unfolded in specific historical settings such as ancient Greece, Ptolemaic Egypt, Infinity will contain multiple settings with room to expand to others in the months and years following its debut. The article further states individual games on the platform might look and feel different, but they will all be connected. And if you read further on, Jason Schreier writes, inspired by smash hits like Fortnite and Grand Theft Auto 5, these living online platforms can keep players engaged for years by frequently adding new content or changing the experience in dramatic ways. The fifth GTA game, which has sold more than 140 million copies largely thanks to its consistently updated multiplayer mode, is approaching its 8th birthday with versions planned for a third generation of game consoles. Ubisoft is currently also under fire for involving employees that have been accused of harassing females, which in itself is bad, but I want to currently focus on the game itself. Now, there are a few questions that arise out of this in my mind and I wanted to discuss them with you. First one being about this game itself and what it could be like. While GTA 5 and Destiny 2 are some of the best examples of live service games done right, closer to home, Ubisoft is already experimenting with that model. Watch Dogs Legion consists of an online mode which probably is a guiding light on how Ubisoft could play out a live service AC Infinity. And it's important to note that Ubisoft Massive is already working on the Division Heartland, which will follow a free-to-play live service approach as well. Taking these into considerations, I'm making the best assumption for this part. The base free-to-play game will most likely consist of a couple of smaller maps from different eras, where most F2P players will experience a small story-based game with grinding missions to begin their journey. The experience could be that of a typical MMORPG. The lore will show you experiencing different time periods through the DNA available to use for the Animus. It's here where the paid part might come in. You may be required to pay and purchase the DNA of certain assassins to explore their stories. It won't be too far to say that Ubisoft might even resurrect a few old maps and characters, or maybe bring some of the supporting characters from those main games and get you to experience the game from their point of view. The reason why this part is plausible is that one of the rumors doing the rounds is that this game will interconnect all other AC games. A full connection is definitely needed at this point, because after the Desmond Miles arc, the present day stories of the mainline games remained scattered and unconnected till Leila Hassan came in. We also need to connect a lot of the dots that were created in between the gaps that different games have left. Like the nearly 1000-year gap between AC Origins and AC Valhalla. How the Hidden Ones grew and evolved, how did they change their name, and how different places evolved over time with the conflict that has been happening between the Brotherhood and the Templars. One example could be straight from Assassin's Creed Valhalla. In that game, Eivor discovers abandoned bureaus of the Hidden Ones across England. A story arc in Assassin's Creed Infinity could show how these were made, and significant events that took place at that time when the assassins had a full presence in England. I can go on and on about the possible theories, but I hope this explanation will help in understanding the direction of this game. Which brings me to my second and a more controversial question. What will happen to the mainline Assassin's Creed games? To understand this fully, I will need to update you a little bit on the bit of Canadian politics as well as office politics that's been going on in Ubisoft. Because this game is slated to release around 2024-25, it is safe to say that the next Assassin's Creed game will most likely happen in 2022, as Ubisoft will not want to miss out on the revenue that this series brings them. But the more complex question remains. What will happen after that? To ensure Infinity happens, Ubisoft has taken one of its boldest decisions yet, and that was to unify Ubisoft Montreal and Ubisoft Quebec, who will collaborate on Infinity but will still have their own creative director. In case you're wondering why that's significant, it's because Ubisoft Montreal has led the development of most of the Assassin's Creed games, including Origins and Valhalla, while Ubisoft Quebec has led development of 2 out of the last 4 Assassin's Creed games, which were Syndicate and Odyssey. The only exception to this was Ubisoft Sofia, who led the development for Assassin's Creed Rogue. Now, of course, Ubisoft Studios has worldwide presence, but the developer studio is the one that decides on the game direction. So the unification of both studios has created multiple issues for both of the studios. First of all, Quebec is a region that has certain political differences with the rest of Canada, and this has caused friction between the people in Quebec and the rest of Canada. And as much as you would like to avoid these differences, they are bound to come to a boil on unification. In fact, it's already happening. Ubisoft was already reeling from last year's cultural reckoning over widespread sexual misconduct allegations, but according to Bloomberg, many people at Ubisoft have raised complaints after the reorganization in both studios, and Ubisoft Montreal has seen a rise in people leaving in the past 2 months. The reorganization currently makes it look like that these 2 major studios will only be focused on Infinity for the foreseeable future, including after release, to develop paid content for the game. Considering all of this, at this point, Ubisoft may take a few directions. One could be to run both the mainline AC game and Infinity parallelly. This, although seems like a decent outcome, it may lead to more in-game monetization, as Ubisoft will look to connect both Infinity and the mainline game in some way. Alternately, purchasing the main game could see you getting a few item packs for Infinity, as is being done with Call of Duty Warzone. The second option could be to abandon the mainline series in its entirety and run all future AC lore through Infinity by adding story questlines there. This sounds plausible and would also serve to connect the universe through one major story arc spread across multiple timelines. The third option could be to run the game just like GTA does, and instead of having one mainline game every year or once in 2 years, the gap could increase significantly by 5 to 6 years. The reason I feel this is the path Ubisoft might take is because the fans of the franchise will be able to enjoy these stories through Infinity, and the series will also get a much bigger breathing space, something that's being demanded from Ubisoft. Most feel the series should be killed off, but a larger gap would definitely mean better production time for the game. It's also clear for any of this to happen, other Ubisoft studios might need to step in and take up a bigger role. With the main studios in Montreal, Quebec, and Ubisoft Massive having its hand full in different projects, studios like Ubisoft Sofia or even Ubisoft Pune can definitely make the effort to fill in those shoes. Whichever way you want to look at it, the future of Assassin's Creed is changed forever, and it's something that fans of the franchise are not taking too kindly at this point of time. At this point, it's clear Ubisoft is on a mission to generate more revenue, which can only be possible through features like live service and in-game monetization. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this move, but it remains to be seen whether this will be successful as Destiny 2, or will this move kill the Assassin's Creed franchise once and for all? But enough about what I think of all of this. Tell me what you think about all of this. Do you think this is a right move for the franchise, or do you feel this has disappointed you to the point of never picking up another Assassin's Creed game ever again? Or are you someone who was disappointed ever since Ubisoft ditched its traditional AC formula for a more open world approach and gave up on the series altogether? Leave your comments below to share your thoughts. If you like this video, hit the like and the subscribe button, share this video out to a friend, hit the bell notification to get the latest updates from me, and don't forget to connect with me on my Instagram at illegaldesi.gaming and Twitter at illegaldesi, and I will see you in the next one.